Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game On Summit, day 3. We're having a live session. I am Bowie Lau, the event organizer for the Game On Summit. Today, I'm super excited because I have a special guest joining us. And I have the privilege and honor to have this one-on-one fireside chat with the NFT legend, WhaleShark. Welcome, WhaleShark.
Bowie, thank you so much for having me here today. I am so thrilled to be a part of this amazing summit. And thank you for taking out the time to interview me yourself. It's just truly an honor and a privilege.
Thank you. Well, the honor is mine, I must say. So, at this whole one-on-one fireside chats for me, I really want to get to know about you. So, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. So I go by the pseudonym WhaleShark. I've been in crypto since 2012. Um, I started buying Bitcoin in 2012, have been involved in the Bitcoin community as well as the Ethereum community, did a lot of investments into Ethereum in 2015, and actually stumbled across NFTs in 2019. Since then, it has very much been a very epic rabbit hole of understanding how blockchain and how NFTs are going to revolutionize digital life as we know it. And I've been fortunate enough to become one of the largest collectors of NFTs in the world, with about 220,000 NFTs across multiple wallets, as well as the founder and operator with my wonderful team at Whale of the Whale token. That is now one of the largest social tokens in the world as well.
That's awesome. Wow, it's amazing. To a newbie, right? I mean, we have NFT versus the digital currency. Can you tell us what's the difference?
Absolutely. So, coming from both fungible and non fungible tokens, the difference of the two are really in the name itself. So, when we talk about fungible tokens, we're talking about things like Bitcoin, about Ethereum, about Flow. And essentially, what that means is that one token is the same as another token. So, one Bitcoin is equal to another Bitcoin is equal to another Bitcoin, and similar thing for Ethereum. When we talk about non fungible tokens, on the other hand, in the broader circumstances, one NFT is very different from another NFT. So you might have an artist or a creator who creates 10,000 NFTs that maybe have the same content, but each token might have a different minting time, might have different metadata, might have a different serial number. So essentially, one NFT is very different from another NFT. And that's where the name non fungible or from non fungible tokens actually comes across.
Sure. Yes, I've been studying, I guess, NFT or blockchain for quite some time. I think for my level, I definitely understand what you're talking about. But
Mhm.
what if you are talking to a small kid? How can you explain NFT to a small child?
That's a wonderful question. And honestly, it has been a struggle for me to be able to vocalize or verbalize, what is an NFT. And I think after going through a lot of practice, when we saw the NFT boom in the first quarter of this year, I think I boiled it down to one single sentence. NFTs are essentially digital things that you really own, right? If I had to explain it to a 3-year old, if I expect to explain it to a 5-year old, this is a digital thing that you really own. And when I mean that, it's basically, on a more advanced level, usually draw a comparison between all of the digital goods that exist in the market today, right? I could have a 6 to 8 year old who's playing Fortnite, and in Fortnite, they might own some skins, but telling them that they really own that really would be falsehood, because that skin actually exists on a centralized server owned by the gaming company. On the other side, when I'm explaining about NFTs and telling people that these are things that they truly own, essentially, with an NFT, you can prove who made it, where it came from, who actually owns it, and you can actually give it away to anybody. I could take an NFT, set up a stall outside Walmart, and be able to sell that to anybody who comes across, or even give it to my grandmother. So at the end of the day, the way that I would explain NFTs are just digital things that you can truly own and manage. And hopefully 5 years or 6 years from now, NFTs will just become the de facto standard of the way that we perceive digital goods.
I think definitely we are heading to that direction, I must say. So thank you for sharing. So you mentioned that you've been starting collecting NFT since 2019, right? But
Mhm.
then how did you learn about NFT? And can you share about your experience of the whole NFT journey with us?
Absolutely. So, having been in crypto for the better part of a decade now, I have always very much been what you call a use case maximalist over, let's say, a Bitcoin maximalist, an Ethereum maximalist. I believe in the use case of the blockchain. And the use case of the blockchain, I mean, you could talk about the use case as digital money, you could talk about it as the use case for digital finance. But, stumbling upon a Reddit in 2019, all of a sudden I was able to see the blockchain's use case as something for digital goods. And the first time I stumbled across that was in the summer of 2019. I was on a Reddit, I was on an Ethereum Reddit, and I was actually looking through new projects, and a project called Gods Unchained that's actually being developed by a company called Immutable came up. And I think that's very fitting for this entire I guess for this entire segment and this entire exhibition,
What year
because
was it?
it's summer of 2019. um
Okay, wow.
Summer of 2019. And so I entered NFTs through gaming, right? Through gaming. And being a very avid collector of Magic the Gathering when I was 9 or 10, all of a sudden I saw this game that was doing tradable collectible cards, right? And they were using the blockchain to verify each an individual card, so that the digital cards that I collected were equally as tangible as the Magic the Gathering cards that I had been collecting when I was 9 or 10, right? It
Cool.
just utterly and completely blew my mind, Bowie. And so, very much, it's amazing what you're doing here today, because, again, my entry into NFTs was through gaming, as I am sure it is going to be for many of your audience that are watching this today. Now, given that, I became one of the largest holders of Gods Unchained, but I don't think that I could have stopped my voracious appetite for NFTs there. So, over the course of the next 12 to 24 months, I slowly found myself collecting a lot of crypto art, right? So, becoming one of the world's largest holders of NFT art. In order to find a place to be able to showcase my art and to showcase the cards I collected, became one of the largest holders of digital real estate through platforms like CryptoVoxels as well as Sandbox. And then after that, moving on to collectibles like NBA Top Shot and becoming the largest collector of NBA Top Shot within that ecosystem as well. So just looking at the NFT space and being able to draw so many amazing parallels between the traditional physical world and this new digital generation and era that we're living in today, it's just been an amazing journey to see that shift from the traditional to the digital as we move into what we call the metaverse.
This is amazing. Being the number one NFT collector in the world, I must say you must have a lot of experience, valuing the NFT, marketing the price, and place a bet accordingly. Can you share some tips? How do you identify a good NFT? And how do you know if the price they're marking is reasonable? And how to find the hidden treasure?
Absolutely. That's an amazing question. And for all of the investors out there looking to get into NFTs, I've shared my playbook openly. Now, there's a different way that I approach NFT projects versus crypto art or NFT art, because collecting art is very much a labor of love and buying what you really enjoy. And then after that, really immersing yourself in that relationship with the artist. So I'm going to keep that conversation pertaining to investing in art as something separate. But on a general level, the main things I look at before investing into an NFT project are mainly fourfold. The first thing is that I need to look at the team and need to understand that they have a very ethical background of success. So all of the projects that I do have within the portfolio, they've been vetted extremely well, from a background check, from understanding their track record, from understanding previous projects, because the best team will create the best projects. So that's the first thing. The second thing I look at is there a parallel in the physical traditional world that I can draw to the digital world? So, for example, when I'm looking at the physical world, with NBA Top Shot, for example, baseball cards, sport cards are going to escalate in value no matter what. And I can hold them for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and they'll just continue to escalate in value. So, it was very much a no-brainer for me to become one of the largest holders of NBA Top
The
Shots.
legendary
The
moment. Yes.
the legendary moments. Oh, I
Yes.
love those, and I look at them every single week. The third thing that I look at is, what's the quality of the NFT, and whether that's looking at how decentralized the NFT is, whether that's the structure of the metadata, whether that is the aesthetic design of the NFTs. I'm definitely looking for something that looks really good and also has a strong use case behind it, right? The more use case that an NFT has, the better for me, and the better option as an investment for me. The last thing
Yeah.
I look at, and I think this is extremely important for everybody, is essentially to understand, what is the capital based runway for these companies, because you'll want to make sure that these companies can continue to operate into the far future, right? Having a company with a zero capital base, and that they could go bankrupt during a bear run, I don't think that that's a savvy investment. Whereas looking at companies that have 15 to 20 to 30 months of capital runway, I think is a very good indication that the project is going to continue to blossom, whether it's a bear or bull market. But Bowie, those are essentially the four things that I look at.
I appreciate that you're sharing your secret sauce with us. And the one that you just mentioned, right? Speaking about the team, talking about the physical versus the digital world, the quality of the NFT, and the capital runway, right? I think those elements are very similar to angel investment as well as venture capital investment.
Boy, you are spot on. And coming from that world yourself, I think you can see that if you're a solid investor in VC, in PE, in angel investment, you are going to do relatively well in NFTs, because while you might not get the gains that we're seeing from these huge ebb and flows of individual projects, identifying solid projects with solid fundamentals, at least that's one of the philosophies that I subscribe to and have subscribed to as I move through the space as an investor.
Yes, totally agree. Let's speak about your social token. How did you come up with the idea of integrating the NFT and the social tokens? I would love to, hear both from you.
Absolutely. So I think that collecting is a very solitary endeavor, right? As a single collector, you're buying what you love, and sometimes it's extremely difficult to share what you love with everybody. Now, I believe the impetus for the whale token, which is representative of, again, which is backed by the assets within the whale vault, came probably in February or March of 2020, when I wanted to find a way to share not only the growth of that asset base, but also find a way to share my journey as a collector and be able to collect more with the input of many, many other people. Now, the only way that I could see that I could do that is by creating a social token that was not only backed by the assets of the whale vault, but was also backed by the vibrancy of a very avid NFT collector community, and that spurred the growth of the whale token that was launched on May 18th, 2020. We started off with 500 members, and we are about 25,000 members worldwide today. It's a
Amazing.
very active community. We have 8 events being streamed through Discord. And yeah, I think, when I look, and I've been very vocal about this as well, when you look at the decentralization or the true ownership of assets that you see with NFTs, I also think that the next wave after this is going to come through social tokens, whereby communities, whereby celebrities and influencers are going to be able to mobilize their fan base by creating their own cryptocurrency.
That's really cool. Obviously, people can see most of the time they see the glory thing, all the success that you have made. But then, especially I think for entrepreneur or people who run their own startup, we must have faced a lot of obstacle and challenges in the past. So, could you share what were the major obstacle and challenges that you encountered in the past?
Sure. Bowie, and I think you're spot on. I mean, usually people only see the success of the story
No,
and they
that's not
don't
what
see
I
the
look.
failures, right?
The failure is the most important thing because that's how it shape us. I faced a lot of failures in the past. I'm happy to share with people. I just to talk about the failure session. We can have an all day long session, seriously. But then I think that is very important to share. So would you mind to share with us?
Absolutely, Bowie. And I fully agree with you. I think I go by two mantras here. The first mantra is failure is the mother of success, right? Very much to
Absolutely.
what you've said there. And the second mantra is fail fast, fail often, because then you'll succeed more quickly, right? So I think
Yes.
those are the two mantras for any entrepreneurs
Totally
who are
agree.
looking to get there. Um, but yeah, I mean, from a challenge and obstacle perspective, you're not going to hit you're not going to hit gold with every single investment that you make in NFTs. And putting all of your eggs in one basket is really a fast way to lose your money. I think the challenge for me was really going through all these different projects within the space and be able to handpick a couple of them that I felt had the legs to run in the near and the far future. So, I think that in itself has been difficult. And while we've looked at the asset base of the Whale Vault escalate from, you know, $500,000 in the initial valuation to 50 million on a conservative and maybe 100 million on market value today, very much a lot of that has taken a lot of time. And, I guess one of the biggest challenges is being brave enough and being astute enough and having enough belief in your own acumen to be able to buy assets when other people are chasing flavor of the month or flavor of the week, right? So I think that's one of the challenges that we've seen so far. And even today, we hold assets within the vault that are not as productive as others. And, sometimes it's a little sad to see that. But at the same time, understanding that the fundamentals that you saw during the fundamental analysis is there, it's still extremely exciting to see their journey. So I think one of the biggest challenges has been identifying the right projects. The second thing I would say from a challenge perspective is it's very hard to judge what's coming in the short term, right? Now, looking back, I mean, you can look at a lot of these profile pick projects or PFP projects that are just getting a lot of steam or had been getting a lot of steam over the last 2 to 3 months. Now, given that not being a part or not being as flexible to be able to participate in that, I think that's in a challenge in itself as well. But at the end of the day, I think investors need to understand what their time frame of and time horizon for investment is and be able to adhere to that strongly no matter what is going up and what is going down, because chasing the market is a really easy way to lose your money.
Yes, I totally agree. Thank you for pointing out that part is very important. You mentioned about the vault. I think one of the scary or the concern that a majority of the general public will have is the cybersecurity. So I think lacking the proper knowledge to protect the digital asset is one of the
Mhm.
challenge they encounter. So I'm curious. You since you're the number one NFT collector in the world, you must have quite a lot of um, comprehensive knowledge in cybersecurity, especially how to protect your digital asset. Could you share some tips with us?
Bowie, that's an amazing question, and it's a question that people have not been asking enough, right? I cannot
Yes,
go by one day on Twitter and have somebody say I lost all of my assets, right? It's extremely sad. It's extremely sad.
it is.
But there are some just basic fundamental things that people should be doing to ensure that their assets are safe. Now, from a whale perspective, what we do is we have multiple copies of the whale vault along with a lot, and all of those multiple copies, they're actually, and I'm not going to go too much into the detail just to make sure that our security processes
Absolutely, totally
is
understand.
well
Yes,
hidden. But that access to the vault is segmented, segregated, and put into some of the most strictest security vaults around the world. And essentially, even if you got access to one vault, it would not grant you access to the whale vault. So what we've done is we've actually taken physical security to a certain extent over cybersecurity and putting everything in cold wallets, as well as segregating and segmenting that access so that people would, it's just simply, it's not humanly possible. to be able to put together. I guess either that's the seed keys or the cold wallets to be able to access the vault. So on one hand, there's that. I guess from a cybersecurity perspective, I don't hold much assets on my MetaMask, and I think that's the number one issue that I've seen that people have faced is that when they buy NFTs and when they're trading with their crypto, they hold a large amount of value on their MetaMasks, right? And MetaMask, as long as someone has a keylogger or someone has put a Trojan in your computer, all of those assets are up for risk. So I guess my two pieces of advice for people out there is number one, don't hold your assets in a MetaMask. Make sure you buy a ledger or buy another hardware wallet and put them on there. And then after that, either secure them in a bank vault or cut up the seed phrase and distribute them among multiple bank vaults. That would be my first piece of advice. And then after that, secondly, is again physical over cybersecurity most of the time, because again, if you do have enough physical security, it's very difficult for anyone or everyone, including myself, right, to access those assets.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Speaking about investment, would you like to share what was the best NFT investment and also the worst investment that you have invested in the past?
Sure. So talking about worst, again, a lot of the assets in the vault, or some of the assets in the vault, they haven't realized their true value yet, right? But given the fact that we've implemented, again, fundamental analysis and understanding that these teams and organizations are extremely solid, I don't think we're at the time frame where I can call them the worst investments yet. I think the worst investments that I've made as a collector has actually been purchasing assets that do not have that do not have a multi-utility, right? And again, it's something that you see with PFP projects that can sometimes be extremely struggling. But what I wish I had known back then is actually purchasing assets that actually do have multi amounts of utility, and also have a future growth in that perspective. In terms of the best investments that we've made, I mean, we do own a lot of the crown jewels of NFT land. When you look at some of the largest artists that are coming to fruition in the space, you're looking at people like Pac, and again, their pieces are selling for upwards of $1 to $2 million. We are one of the largest holders of Pac's work or artworks in the space. When you look at people like Hackatow or Xcopy, and Xcopy just recently sold a piece for $3 million, we're the largest holder of Xcopy and Hackatow in the space. Um, Beyond that, I think even more valuable than the assets that we managed to collect is also the relationships that we've actually managed to build with all of the artists in the space. And so for me, if you ask me what has been our best investment, I am a huge fan of crypto art, huge fan of digital art, huge fan of NFT art. And really, the best decision that I ever made was to invest into digital art.
Thank you. I've been, I got to do a little homework, get to know about you before we have this fireside chat, right? So
Yeah.
back in March, you have a interview with, I think his name is Jeff Wilsler, and I wanted to talk about the donation that you have to the charity. But for me, it's all about paying forward, which is why I make the event free of charge. All the general public can come and learn and get themselves educated in this space. I also work with Room to Read, which is one of the, I think, a pretty big NGO in the world, helping the poor children. Especially in the developing countries, but because while we're talking about the luxury of having, art or gaming or entertainment, but then in other developing countries they actually don't even have the essential, which is the basic to get themselves educated. So I'm very happy that Game On Summit is helping them as a fundraising partner, and I actually listed them on my website so that they actually accept cryptocurrency as a donation. So can you share a little bit about your journey as well, how you donate some money to charity from Wells Holding?
Absolutely. Philanthropy is something that is very near and dear to my heart, Bowie. And I think you and I have a similar philosophy in paying it forward and also paying it to the most disadvantaged groups within the world. Now, I have two thoughts on philanthropy and charity when it pertains to blockchain. And I'll speak a little bit first about what I'm doing from my side. Essentially, when you look at Whale, you have 10 million tokens that currently are worth anywhere between 100 to 120 million dollars today. Now, given that, talking a little bit about the tokenomics, about 60% of that has been allocated to the community, and I'm holding the remaining 40%. Given I was the initial capital provider for all of these NFTs. My journey and my lifelong journey, as hopefully a philanthropist, is to eventually donate all of my holdings to a charity, to a charitable organization in Singapore that is currently being set up, and that charity is going to benefit disadvantaged women and children over the course of my lifetime. Now, the way that we're going to do it is that we are going to vest a lot of these tokens into the charity, and as NFTs continue to escalate in value, so will the price of Whale, and so will the assets that that charity has to implement to be able to help disadvantaged children and women. So, what you see that I've been trying to do here is create this virtuous cycle of value, starting with NFTs, that eventually changes the world. And over the course of my lifetime, I've pledged to donate all of my holdings to that charitable organization and be able to do that. Now,
This is this is awesome. Yes, please
thank
continue.
you. So I've already actually pledged the first $10 million to the charity, right? And that's actually already in motion. Now, the issue with charities today for me is the high admin costs of many large charitable organizations that exist today. And what I'm looking to do as a philanthropist is also disrupt that industry as a whole. Now, we all know some of the benefits of blockchain is decentralization and transparency. Imagine if a charitable organization was set up that had the transparency of the blockchain, and people are going to be able to see where every single cent of that money that they're donating is going to. When this charitable organization or this charitable trust gets set up, essentially what we're going to do is we are going to implement blockchain elements so that people can see exactly how much of that capital is going where, and be able to be completely transparent on the administration costs versus actually the money that is going out to help all of these disadvantaged women and children throughout the world. So beyond NFTs, beyond social tokens, I think I'm most excited about how blockchain is going to revolutionize the way that we give and the way that people can see that we give.
This is really, really cool. And I'm happy that I actually asked you this question. And so for us to get to know about this exciting project. And we certainly need to talk on the side. And I would be keen to see if there's anything I can help, whether to promote this. And I guess it's all about spreading the word to let the people in your network and to know what's happening, right? So yes, the paying forward is has a effect to like kind of like affecting others to follow and do the something similar. Yeah, so this is really really cool.
Well,
Thank you for sharing.
I fully agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing that we can take away from this world, right? And I think the only thing that we can give back to this world is leaving this world in a better place than when we first entered it. So I think that as an entrepreneur, as a philanthropist, I think that's my vision. That has been my vision for a very long time. And fortunately, I am now in the position to be able to do something like that.
That's great. I'm sure one day I can be in that position to do something like that as well.
Absolutely. You're everyone. We're all doing what we can do, and again, I love seeing everyone using their wealth and using their clout and using their power to really make this a much better world.
Great, thank you. So back then in March, you did the interview, right? I remember you mentioned that 99% of the NFT projects are going to fail. Now, 6 months later, we know now looking back to what you have said 6 months ago. Do you agree what you have said by then, and what is your view now?
I think it's verification, right? I think the last 6 months has actually been validation and verification of what I've said. Again, there are projects that have stood out over the last 6 months, but for every single project that has succeeded, how many other projects have gone bankrupt or have exited the space and no longer have a collector base? If you look at OpenSea and you actually, and I really do hope that someone actually does the mathematics on that. But if you look at OpenSea, I mean, the number of non-productive assets on OpenSea, I'm quite sure is beyond 99% at this point in time. Um, I think it's very easy for people to look at the space and to look at the space booming and maybe to pick out a handful of projects that are doing well. But at the same time, for every single project that is doing well, I can guarantee you that there's probably 100 to 200 that are going out of business. Now, what I've also seen is that the NFT world is very much flavor of the month, and there are very few projects that eventually make it into mainstream. When you look at the market today, the predominant source of capital is still coming from crypto native, also known as crypto bros. And how long is that going to last once mainstream money comes in and they're looking at assets and saying, hey, this might be historical for crypto, but is it really historical for mankind? So I think that's really something that people need to be very much aware of. Very similar back to your question just now on what's the difference between fungible and non-fungible tokens. Just because you have an NFT doesn't mean you're going to benefit from this bull run. There are going to be many people who make money, but from an NFT perspective, you do need to be a tastemaker in order to truly, I guess, succeed in the long term with investment into NFTs.
Thank you for sharing. So, what are the plans for the coming year or next year that you could share with us?
Absolutely. So I guess from our perspective, we're going to continue to invest in NFTs. We've been sourcing out and looking at many of the artists, particularly crypto art, right? From our perspective, and really trying to purchase and acquire art that is significant and signifying of the times that we're going. Right now, we're very much on a generative art run. And two of our favorite artists that we're looking at right now are Brendan Dawes and Rafiq Anadol. So again, we do think, completely opening up the playbook here, we're very interested in number one, the movement of digital art into the mainstream, which is being, again, spearheaded by Sotheby's, Christie's, Poly Auction, as well as many other auction houses throughout the world. But at the same time, also looking at artists who are significant and signifying of the times. So we're doing that. The second thing that we're doing at Whale is we're really improving our production value. And I think a lot of people who have looked at the information and knowledge that we've seen, they have seen an increase in the quality of information that's coming out from Whale. The third thing that we are also looking at is we are going to be more participative in the market, not only from a buy side, but also from a sell side. Many of the assets that we purchased, 2 years ago for $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 are now worth upwards in the millions of dollars. And it's about time for us to be able to sell some of those assets so that we can benefit the Whale token holders by doing a token buyback in the near future. So do keep your eyes peeled for that. We are working with one of the world's largest auction houses later this month. And hopefully we will see some records broken with the release of 3 of our pieces.
Wow, this is cool. I mean, this year is a record moment. I mean, almost like breaking every week or every month since March when the Metacoven and Tubador. I just have the one-on-one fireside chat with Tubador that we've just played it out yesterday. So it was really really cool, and I'm looking forward to see all these record breaking moment coming going forward. So for newbies who wants to get to know about the NFT space, what do you recommend them to do? This is my, I guess, one of my last question, and I have one more question for you.
No worries. And I'm really enjoying this. Tubador and Metacoven are very good friends of mine. And again, very appreciative of what they're doing in the space as well to push it forward. If you're new to the space, I guess the easiest way to get acclimated to NFTs is number one, making sure that you're going on YouTube and, understanding there's a wealth of content up there compared to, even 6 months or a year ago. I mean, it's very easy to get your NFT 101 education from YouTube. In
Totally
order to
agree.
get
Yes.
it's everything is there, right, Bowie? Uh,
Yes.
the second thing that you can do is actually join, and follow Twitter NFT influencers. I know that NFT influencers are extremely active on Twitter, and Twitter is very much NFT land. So you can get your NFT education 102 from Twitter. If you want to get to a little bit more advanced stages, I mean, participating in the Discord and downloading Discord and joining all these Discord communities, that's also a wonderful way to get a more advanced education in 103. And I guess the final thing is that events like the amazing event that you're hosting here, Bowie, is where people can really sit down and listen to some of the movers and shakers within the environment, and get advice firsthand from all of us. And I think it's so much credit to you and the team for allowing people to participate in this in a free manner and have access to this wealth of information. So really kudos to you and the team for doing this, spreading the good word, and allowing people to get their 101 education on NFTs for absolutely nothing. That's truly a benefit and a boom to the community, my friend.
Thank you, WhaleShark. Very, 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 very much appreciated. I'm mindful of the time, so my last question for you is: do you have any final words to our audience today?
I would say all of you who are standing on the fence on whether or not you should get on NFTs, jump into the pool, get your education, reach out to people within the community, and learn more about what NFTs are. Now, you don't need to have an insane amount of money to be part of the community. It could be initially just a watch and see and just participating and understanding. But I think something that's very important is that you get your toes wet by dipping your toes in the NFT pool. And given that, I think NFT land is one of the most it's one of the most generous and one of the most open communities that I've ever had the pleasure of being a part of. And we welcome more as we move towards the mainstream. So definitely get your feet wet. Definitely jump in the NFT pool and join us as we move towards this new digital revolution.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing, WhaleShark. My honor having this one-on-one fireside chat with you, and I'm really looking forward to have another one in the near future. So tomorrow we are having because the summit that we structure mostly to cater the Asia Pacific as well as Europe time zone, which is why tomorrow we are going to give some love to the US audience, which is why we're having a VIP roundtable tomorrow. So stay tuned for further information.
Bowie, thank you so much for having me. It's been an utter pleasure. One of the best interviews that I've ever had in my life. Thank you so much for this
Thank you.
event. I'm doing the thank you sign with my hands. Unfortunately, my avatar doesn't move, but it's been epic. Thank you so much for spreading the love, spreading the knowledge, and just being so selfless in this endeavor to educate everybody about technology.
Awesome. Thank you, Elshak. Talk to you
Thank you,
soon.
Bowie.
Have a
Talk to
good
you soon.
one.
Thank you.
Thank you.